What is up, YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be doing a live deal breakdown of the two deals I had last week, closed and funded, that made me $26,000 last week, closed and funded. One was for 13.5, the other one was for 1300. Also got my students in here, so I'm going to share my screen with them. And yeah, if you guys have any questions in the middle of it, just interrupt me. You don't have to raise your hand or anything. Just go ahead and interrupt me, unmute, and just ask me any questions you have about the deals. Cool? Cool. All right. Let me know if y'all could all see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So last week, deal number one, right? So this was in Duncanville, Texas. So both of these deals were in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Um, Not in the city of Dallas, but like 15 minutes away from the city of Dallas. And so I find that those are the best deals, the ones that are not in the actual main city, but in the surrounding cities, on the outskirts of the cities is where I find the most success. So this was in Duncanville. This is like southeast Dallas, I believe. It was for $13,500. You can see I just screenshotted the wire. So yeah, the contract price, I originally got this locked up for $160,000. Um, and I'll kind of go over that. When I got it locked up, there was other people that was contacting the seller. They were saying that they'd give her this much, that much, whatever. But I was just on top of it, vicious follow up. But I knew like if I didn't get it locked up for whatever price, I was probably gonna lose it and not get it locked up at all, lose it to the other investors that were bidding on the house. There's probably like two other people that she was talking to, two or three. Um, but yeah, I always knew that I could go back and get a price reduction. Based on our conversation, I knew she would be okay with it. But I locked it up at 160, and then I later on ended up getting a price reduction to 148. And then I assigned it at 161.5. Okay, the buyer for this deal, oh man, it was this is kind of a roller coaster and very stressful, but kind of because I made it stressful, right? Um, with a little bit of scarcity mindset and everything, and just trying to get the most money, turning down good offers because I wanted better offers, but it ended up being a daisy chain. It's actually crazy. So I assigned it to someone, and he's a friend of mine who said he had a buyer, or he's a friend of mine, an acquaintance, whatever. But I assigned it to him, and then after I assigned it to him, I come to find out he didn't assign it to a buyer, he assigned it to another wholesaler who still had to show his buyers. So that pissed me off a lot because at that point, by the time I assigned it to him, I already had another buyer who was an actual buyer and they were guaranteed. They could close super quick, but the only difference was like they came in lower. And the difference in the price between the actual buyer I had and the person who daisy chained it was just $3,000. So that's what I mean when like if you get greedy sometimes just over a couple grand, sometimes it could blow up in your face, but this time it did not blow up in my face. Um, but yeah, so ended up going with the wholesaler friend of mine or whatever, associate acquaintance. Um, Long story short, I'm not gonna do a deal with him again because he lied, right? I found out that I had to find out through someone else that he didn't have a buyer, he had another wholesaler. So yeah, I assigned it to another wholesaler who assigned it to another wholesaler who assigned it to a cash buyer. Uh, and that wholesaler that he assigned it to was he's a really, really good wholesaler. And so he's the one who bought deal number two. Um, so yeah, definitely gonna do business with him. So it's just crazy how it all works out. But yeah, walkthroughs. So for this, uh, it was tenant occupied, right? Occupancy tenant occupied. And so when it's tenant occupied, the deals are usually harder to have buyers walk it. You got to call the seller, and then the seller has to contact the tenant and then let them know, and then they have to, see if they're home, see if they're available, things like that. This one wasn't as bad. The seller was a little irritated, or not irritated, but like cautious about sending multiple people over there to disrupt the tenants, which doesn't make sense. They're selling it anyways, but um, it wasn't that bad. The tenants were pretty cool. It was like she was renting the rooms out. One of them was a hoarder, but as long as I just told her like, hey, we want to go this time, let me know. And it usually had to be like 24 hours in advance. In total, though, there was about 15 walkthroughs. Yeah, it was kind of a journey, like finding a buyer and having all these walkthroughs. So 15, really, I think it was like, it could have been like 20 walkthroughs. Um, like maybe like 20 different people saw it. And that is because, yes, I had VIP buyers that I could go to at any time, but I was like, I want the most amount of money. And so, if the price that they came in at didn't sound good to me, then I was going to try to shop it to another buyer, which can sometimes piss people off. And that's another lesson I learned in this deal. But yeah, about 15 to 20 walkthroughs. Do one of y'all have a question?
What was the total spread? Wait, it was 26,000 for that. Yeah, you said that.
Um, yeah, this one was 13,500. Capo, you have a question? Maybe it's disconnect. Oh no. But yeah,
Including the other wholesalers?
no, so it was 13,500 just to me. So I assigned it at 161.5, and then the buyer paid another, I think, $5,000 or $6,000 on top of that to the other wholesalers. So yeah, I didn't split it with anybody. It was just 13,500 all to me. Straight to me. I didn't give that to anybody else. Yep. Lead source. So lead source, this came from the cold caller. So I have cold callers right now. I have six cold callers right now. And then I got it from code violation city lists. So I mean, if you guys go on my YouTube channel, I'll show you guys how to pull those lists, and yeah, the whole process to get those lists. So it's a little bit of a tedious process, but it is really, really good data. So I've been using that since the beginning when I first started paying for marketing, and I still use it to this day. Code violation city list, for the DFW and surrounding areas. And then, yeah, the cold callers called them, sent it into the CRM. And then I was actually the one to call it. Even though I have two acquisition managers, I guess that day I was just calling leads. And so I'm the one who actually called it and locked it up. Do you guys have a question on any of that, about any of this?
Yeah, I have a question. So during those walkthroughs and inspections, being that it was about, 15 to 20 walkthroughs, how did you use kind of like your instinct or your gut feeling, if you don't have experience on who to go through, who would be the, most qualified buyer to accept an offer from? Because I'm sure you got way more offers than you accepted.
Yeah. I guess a hard line in the sand is like EMD, like non-refundable EMD. Give it to me. And if you don't close on this date, you lost your EMD. So if they're not willing to do that, I don't even want to talk to them. Yeah, they got to be okay with that at first. And then a lot of the walkthroughs also were coming from other wholesalers who were sending their buyers. And so sometimes if I don't have this, like if I don't send this a deal to one of my VIP buyers and they don't give me the price that I'm okay with, and I know that the sellers are okay to a certain degree with having walkthroughs, Well, then I'm gonna just send in everybody and their mama to the property. Like, so I'll let a wholesaler send people, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, set expectations, like don't mess up the house, lock the door back, put things back where you found them. Don't talk about price, if the seller's gonna be there, things like that. But with this, the seller just had to notify the tenant so that anybody could go and yeah, it's not like the seller was going to be there for them to talk about price or go behind my back, but the most qualified buyers are, I mean, usually it's EMD. The EMD is like the line in the sand that tells if they're serious or not. I want $3,000 non-refundable EMD deposited in the morning. And if it's not, then this contract is null and void. And until you do that, I'm going to be looking for other buyers. Like you just tell them straight up. And based on how they respond, you could tell if like they're serious. Um, Yeah, and just expressing the fact that it is non-refundable. And the timeline too. Like how soon can you close? Like if they say something like 30 days, I'm like, okay, no. No, you're not a buyer. Not a buyer. Some buyers do take that long though, depending on what type of buyer is. And I mean, that's only because they have a lender or a mortgage or something like that. But yeah. Yep, code violation city list, cold callers. Okay, the condition of the property. This is pretty much a 3 bed, 2 bath. The bathrooms were outdated. It needed a full cosmetic rehab. I mean, it's been a rental for the past 10 years. Before that, the seller lived in there for 20 years. Had a slab foundation that was in good shape. AC, 5, 6 years old. I think that needed to be replaced. Kitchen, so the kitchen was gone. The kitchen was completely gutted and just removed completely. There was no countertops, like there was no sink, like the kitchen was gone. The roof was about 24 years old. No leaks, but it needed to be replaced. Or 20 years old, it needed to be replaced. Some of the plumbing was still original, so that could be an issue if it was built before 1950. This was born 1979, so the plumbing could stay the same. And why is that? Houses built before, or houses, or maybe it's 1960. Anyways, 1960 or 1950. I'm gonna say 1950 to be safe. Houses built 1950 or older have like iron plumbing, like copper plumbing, and so they rust, they get dirty, they clog up, and it's like it's not good. You want the PVC, the plastic stuff, the white pipes, right? And then they owed 70, no, they owed $7,000 in back taxes, and then all the flooring needed to be replaced. So it was realistically probably about like 50K in work needed to be done. So this is the timeline of the deal and everything that happened. So the lead came in originally June 6, 2025. That's when the lead first came in from the cold callers. And then I got it under contract June 30th, 2025. So about 24 days later. I could just describe what happened in between that time in a nutshell. Um, Yeah, it's not about, I did not have the best sales skills. So the first phone call I initially had with her, I was like, hey, this is Isaiah, GCO Capital Ventures, calling about property, 123 Main Street. It looks like it was referred to us by a referral company. Did I catch you at a bad time? She said no, blah, blah, blah. But she was like eating lunch. And then so we were doing a little bit of rapport building for like 2 minutes, asking her about her day and da da da. And like she was telling me a little bit about the house. But then like 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, she was like, "Hey, can I call you back? I'm like at lunch right now with my family. Can I call you back?" And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem." So I let her off the phone, and I'm big against that, especially if you're a beginner or something. Like practice keeping people on the phone. You want to grab their attention. You want to control the phone call and not let them off the phone, not let them push you around. But on that phone call, that first phone call, it was only like 5, 6 minutes, and I let her get off the phone. She was like, "Call me back later this afternoon." And so I called back later. I think it was like 2 or 3 hours later. I called, double dialed. She didn't answer. I'm like, fuck. And then I called again in another hour, double dialed, didn't answer. I'm like, fuck. And then I texted her. I was like, I'm gonna just call you at this time. I think it was like 6 p.m. Central Time. I'm gonna call you at 6 p.m. She's like, all right, sounds good. So I called her back at 6 p.m. and then I went through the entire offer call. But by then, at by 6 p.m., she was tired. She sounded, very, kind of unenthusiastic. She was kind of giving the vibe of like, all right, get it over with, or what is it? Okay, blah blah blah, blah, giving me short, dry answers. And I mean, if y'all have been doing wholesale real estate for real, y'all should know like that'll make a beginner nervous, like or that'll sometimes because it's like, oh, okay, well, shit. And then it makes it hard to ask motivation questions, if they're just giving you short, dry answers. So that's kind of what her attitude was when she was on the phone, when I was on the offer call. And I I let it get to me, I guess, in a way, or whatever the case. I was just like, I'm just gonna go through the process. And so I went through the process. I asked her the questions, still giving me dry answers. And at the end of the phone call, I gave an offer of 135,000 and something dollars. And when I gave her the offer, she was like, okay, all right. All right, well, I'll let you know because I do want to get two other offers. Um, I'll keep you in mind because you were the first person to call me. And yeah, but I'm gonna just go see what those other offers are. And I said, okay, well, um, the offer is only good for 48 hours. Do you want me to tell my team that uh, you'd like to utilize those 48 hours so you could think about it or get those other offers, or do you just want us to move the funds back into a separate account and just move on? She was like, no, I'll use the 48 hours. That's fine. And yeah, so I got off the phone call. I didn't try to reel her in. I didn't try to, get her to sign on the spot like a one call close, even though you should most of the time. You should do that. But the phone call was not the best. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the best on the phones. That's another thing, and I hope it encourages y'all. Like, you guys do not have to be the best on the phone. You don't have to be a savage on the phone. Even though I strive to be the best I could be on the phones and try to get better at sales every single day, what matters most is the impression that you leave with them and your follow-up game. So, yep. Got it under contract June 30th. So this is 26 days later, 24 days later. So boom, that happened. And then so she ghosted me for those 48 hours. I'm trying to text, I'm trying to call, do a follow call. Hey, what are you thinking? Blah, blah, blah. Didn't answer the entire 48 hours, blah, blah, blah. And so I text her like on the third day or on the fourth day. I'm like, hey, um, because we haven't heard back from you in such and such amount of time, but my team just wanted me to let you know that we're going to be moving the funds back into our spending account and we're going to be moving on from the property. Sorry it didn't work out. And she was like, okay. I'm like, fuck. But that's what I did. And because I was trying to gauge some interest. I wanted her to be like, well, hold on. Like, hold on. Or like try to explain something. But she was like, okay, thank you. And I was like, fuck. But I had to hold to my guns, right? So the next day, another day passed, and I call her and I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm like, at this point, I'm informal. I'm being me. I'm being myself. Just like, hey, what's up, dude? Like, what happened? Like, why didn't I hear from you? Blah, 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 blah. She was like, oh, no, I've just been doing this and that. And I'm still waiting to get this other offer. I have this other person going to walk the property and da, 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 da. And she's telling me all these things. And I'm just like, all right, well, look, my team wanted me to tell you, like, we still want the property, right? Now we can't just hold funds, sitting around like that forever. So, we had to move them back, but, I want the property, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when I really started to build the rapport, right? The offer's out the way, the business is out the way, and there's no script at this point. So this is when I start to build rapport with her. I got to learn about her, her family, the more of the history of the house, what she's going through right now, why she's selling it, her husband. It was like her sister's birthday weekend that week, or in like a week or two or something, and started talking about her birthday, her sister, and then we started talking about God and like how everything's meant to be. She was like, as soon as I had the thought of like, man, or as soon as I resolved in my head, like, man, that's it, I'm done. I'm selling this house. She was like, we called like the next hour or something, or like that day. And she was like, it was meant to be. I know it was meant to be. It was a sign. My husband was telling me it's a sign. So, I'm talking about that with her. I believe everything happens for a reason too, right? And so not only do I believe that genuinely, but I'm also going to use that to my advantage, leverage it like, hey, this is meant to be. Remember, it's me. We were meant to be. You come on, you got to trust me now. Blah blah blah. And so when I'm able to be myself, I'm able to like just it's just less pressure. It's like easier to talk to me. It's not just business because when people talk just business, sometimes they could get cold and they could shut off or whatever. And the last so a few more weeks passed by. She wouldn't answer the phone here and there, so I had to make sure that I texted her. I sent her like during her birthday weekend, I said happy birthday. And there was no agenda in the text either. Like I'm sending her genuine text messages. Like, hey, happy birthday, smile emoji. Hope you're doing good. Happy 50 something birthday. I hope you and your sister are having fun because she has a twin sister and like da da da. I was like sending stuff like that. It was never like, hey, happy birthday. Let me know when you're ready to sell the house. Didn't do that. Didn't do that at all. Um, because that will turn a lot of people off. But so I was just texting back and forth. I was calling her every now and then, and I was always following up, like, how's that other offer going? Or well, what's that other offer like? Or what's that person like? Does he seem serious? Is he willing to put up EMD? All these other things. I'm following up. She's telling me all the business. And mind you, I'm not in Dallas. Like I'm in Arizona. So the people who she was talking to get the offer from, they did have the upper hand on me. Like they were able to go see the property in person. But so the last phone call, June 30th, I was following up with her. She was like, "Yeah, I have this one offer at like 170, 180, and blah blah blah." And this and that. And I was just like, look. They're not real. They're not serious. And there's a few word tracks you could use. You never want to like talk bad about someone, but you can discredit someone or disqualify someone in the seller's eyes and qualify yourself. So you could be like, one thing I heard from Eric Klein is like, they have people out here. You want to preface it with like you're an expert. So it's like, Mrs. Seller, I've been doing this for quite some time. And I've seen a lot of things in this industry, and one thing that I commonly see is they will have people on here who will contact you about your property and tell you the price that you want to hear, and then 30 days later when it's time to close you realize that they never had any intention to actually close on their property, and then they either come down with a price reduction or they just cancel or they just ghost you, and I don't want to see that happen to you, Mr. Seller. And then are they even willing, did they even say anything about EMD? Did they even say anything about an inspection period? Did they even say anything about a title company? So I'm disqualifying them while qualifying myself without saying, something that's like trash talking. Like I'm not trash talking anybody. Don't do that. Don't be like, man, fuck them other, but like, man, they're not serious, but like, don't say it in a trash talking way. Just say it as like, well, hey, did they show you this? Okay, well, I'm willing to show you that. And I think that it's very important because of XYZ. Do you think XYZ is important to you? Like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, but on that last phone call, and I was watching a lot of sales videos, so I was like, and I was watching The Wolf of Wall Street, so I was like, and she already got all her other offers at that point, right? She said one was 170, one was like 180, and then another one was like 150 something. And I was like, and I was saying all that, disqualifying them, qualifying myself, and I was like, look, Miss Seller, just give me a chance. I literally said that word for word. I was like, just give me a chance. You know, and I know that I called you when I called you for a reason, and it's because it was meant to be. I could promise you this, Mr. Seller. By the time we're done, the only regret you'll have is that you didn't go with me sooner. I could promise you it'll be the easiest, smoothest transaction that you've ever been through. Um, yeah, I said all that word for word. And I made her laugh when I said that, and whatever. And she was like, all right, fine, let's do it. And so I was like, all right, cool. Got her to sign right then and there. I got it at 160, like is what I told her. I was like, I could do it at 160, but 170, I know that ain't gonna work. Nobody's gonna do that, right? And if there's somebody is telling you that they'll do that, especially if it's an investor, I know that they're not serious. Like, but anyways, I got it up at 160 and I knew it was a little too high. I knew it was a little too high, like probably like 10K too high or something. But I didn't, it doesn't matter. I had the rapport built with her. She trusts me, she likes me, she wants to do business with me. So I knew that I could go back and get a price reduction. I just need to get this contract signed ASAP. So I got that signed. Yep, contract was signed June 30th, 2025 for 160. And so I just started marketing it. So like 3 days later, 3 or 4 days later, wait, 2 or 4 days later, I don't know if there's a 31st day, but I got an assignment signed July 2nd for 172,000, sight unseen. And this was from my VIP buyer, who I know personally. He's bought multiple deals with me before. I had lunch with him, stuff like that. He was like, I'll get it at 172. I wanted to get it at 175, but he was like 172, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right. He did not deposit EMD because title come. I think it was like the end of the week or something, or I'm not sure. I can't remember why. I was pushing him to, but he was like, uh, I wanted him to sell it to me because I didn't know what the property looked like. I didn't even have pictures yet. So I was like, I don't know what it's gonna be like. But in my head, I like knew like 170 is kind of high. That's cool, but probably need some work. So, but he didn't send EMD that very day. He went to go walk it the next day. And because he didn't have an EMD, I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna have my other buyers go too. Uh, so I had him go by, and then I had two other buyers go by. They all went at the same time, probably like or 5 minutes apart. And this buyer that I assigned it to, he came back and said, the best I could do is 165. I was like, fuck. And I was like, I don't want 165. Now looking back at it, 165 is great compared to I got it assigned for 161. Looking back at it in hindsight, especially after I going through the rest of what I was going to go through, I was like, damn, I should have just signed with him at 165. But he came back at 165. I'm like, not good enough. Plus I didn't get the price reduction yet. And the other buyer, I think, didn't give an offer yet. So, yeah, okay, buyer walked July 3rd, came down to 165. I said no. Yeah, I thought I could do better. So I started looking for other buyers. So the buyer canceled that day. I told him, like, no, it's a no-go. And so I found another buyer at 175, um, July 4th, 2025, with a JV partner. Yep, I remember that. So that was the buyer that the other buyer that walked with them. And I would assign it to the wholesaler at 170, and then they would keep the five on top. So that buyer ended up backing out before we got him to sign. Like, because he had gave the offer or something like that. I was waiting on an offer back when I had this other buyer, and we just took too long, basically. And it was the weekend too, so he wasn't able to deposit EMD or whatever. But by the time we were ready, it was like, okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. He said, "Sorry, I just bought a deal." It was like an hour difference. Like we were an hour late. He's like, "I already bought a deal." So that sucked. That fell through. So in a nutshell, I didn't write any of the other buyers that I went through on here, but this deal went through so many buyers. And then I gave it to a few wholesalers who blasted it everywhere. So a lot of buyers were seeing it too. So it's like a ran through deal, right? Everybody sees it, everybody in the mama sees it. And then it's like I start getting desperate. So it's like, oh, fuck, I'll take anything at this point. Like somebody just buy it. Um, and so it was very, very, very stressful. And then the seller is losing patience with all the showings that I'm having. And she's like getting nervous. I don't know if she's seen it somewhere else, like maybe on Facebook or something, that somebody was marketing it, but she started to get a little skeptical of me. I was like, no, 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 you're good. You're good. We're gonna buy it. We're gonna don't worry about it. And so the stress, and I just did not want to lose this deal, like at all, like because I knew it was a deal. But and then I had another wholesaler come in. He's like, I'll do it, but I want exclusivity. So you sign this JV agreement, like only me. You're not showing it to anybody else. So I signed a JV agreement with him. I was like, okay, just make sure that, are you going to get the buyer at this price? He's like, yes. My buyer said he's good with that price. He just needs to walk it. I was like, are you sure? I was like, I don't want to do this, that I'm turning everybody else down. He's like, I'm sure. Uh, Gave it to his buyer wants to go walk it again. So that's causing, the sellers like, how many times you need to walk it? I thought they already walked it. So had him walk it. He came back way low. He made an offer of like a stupid offer of like 120 or something. And I'm just like, fuck, bro. And so I'm at my wit's end. And so I'm like trying to dispo this deal, a little bit of scarcity mindset because I'm like, fuck, like I'm running out of time and like the seller's losing patience and like I already had all these other buyers that blah blah blah. And so I sent it to two people, two wholesalers, and I sent it to them. I clearly, I guess they didn't see the deal from anyone else. And then so both of them said, "Yes, I have a buyer for this." Okay, one of them was a wholesaler. It was a female. She had a direct buyer who was basically she worked for him. So it was pretty much a direct buyer, but the wholesaler worked directly for him. Like she only sold her deals to him and he only bought his deals from her, type. So I showed it to both of them. They was like, yeah, I could do it. Right. So this is where I messed up. Messed up. Whatever. People get butthurt when you send your deal to multiple people. And then when they're ready to go, they're like, hey, I'm ready to go, blah, blah, blah. But then when you say, well, I got another buyer, there's like, well, why'd you send it to me? Why da 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 da? Whatever. That's happened a lot. But anyways, so I sent it to both of them. The girl with the direct buyer, her buyer wants to go walk it like within the next uh like within the hour, like within the next 30 minutes. She sent her buyer and he said, "Yes, we like it. We'll do it." But I think they came in at 158. 158 is what her buyer came in at. Boom. And then the other wholesaler, right? The dude that I knew of, the acquaintance, he brought his buyer. He had his buyer walk it like 3 hours later and he was like, "Yeah, my buyer wants it, ready to go, ready to sign. At let me see how much I could get him up to." And he came back and said, "We could do 161.5. We could do it." I was like, "Are you sure?" He was like, "Yes." It's like, "Are you positive? No more walkthroughs or anything like that." Little did I know that the person that he had walk it was the other wholesaler, another wholesaler. And so he's like, yeah, I swear to God, it's my buyer. He's bought multiple deals from me. He buys deals from me all the time. This is my personal buyer. He's good to go, I promise. No more walkthroughs, no price drop, no price reduction, nothing. He has it. I was like, I was like, okay, you sure? He was like, I'm sure. And so even then, I was still like contemplating, like, who should I go with? Da da da. Anyway, so I ended up going with him, right? I had to tell the other buyer, the other wholesaler, what was up. They didn't like that, but it is what it is. And so I did that and I'm like, okay, cool, got the buyer. And so a few days pass and I realize, let's see, yeah, found my final buyer July 19th. I assigned it to him July 19th for 161.5 and had them deposit EMD same day. So actually the wholesaler deposited the EMD, right? The one that I assigned it to. Um, and it was actually a weekend too, so I couldn't even see if it really went through. And looking back at it, I think he was just lying and just made a fake screenshot. Um, but a few days passed by, and one of my buyers or somebody from my system or whatever who I'm working with tells me, "Hey, I heard you sold your deal, the Duncanville deal. Heard you sold it to my boy at blank company." I'm like, "Huh? No." He's like, "No. Is that your deal?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my deal." He was like, "Oh, I could have sworn blah 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 at this company has it." I'm like, "Oh, that's weird. Who told you that?" And he was like, "This person or whatever." Boom. So I actually called that person because I have that person as a buyer in my CRM or a wholesaler, basically. Like I said, I assigned it to a wholesaler. He assigned it to another wholesaler, and that is wholesaler at X company. And my friend was like, "Hey, you sold it to that guy." I was like, "No." And so I call him up that wholesaler, I'm like, hey, are you buying that deal in Duncanville? He's like, yeah, what's up? I was like, bro, that's my deal. He's like, really? He's like, yeah. And so I was like, are you buying this yourself or are you wholesaling it? He's like, I'm wholesaling it. And like my heart drops. Because mind you, I'm like, the sellers lost all their patience. I don't want to do any more walkthroughs. The deal's coming close to closing time, things like that. And I just like burnt the bridge with the other wholesaler. Didn't really burn the bridge, but I turned her down, her to be pissed off at me, potentially not want to do business with me anymore. And then the other buyers backed out. And so like my heart drops. I'm like, man, fuck. I'm like shaking. I'm like, this motherfucker lied to me, bro. And anyways, so I call the guy, the wholesaler that I assigned it to, and I call him out. I'm like, bro, like you assigned this to another wholesaler that's not a buyer. Like this is that person. I know that person, and he's a wholesaler. He even told me he's wholesaling it. And the funny thing, the crazy thing is like he kept lying. He just kept lying on the phone. And I was like, what? I was like, bro, you don't have to lie. I know. I just wish you would have told me earlier. He's like, no, 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 it's good. That's my buyer. He's good, blah, blah, blah. And he just kept lying. And so that's when I was like really shaken and I was like, man, fuck this dude, bro. And so I had to call the other wholesaler. And so I'm just putting the stress on him. I'm like, motherfucker, this is my deal. You don't understand what I'm going through. Like this deal has to fall through. I mean, has to go through. And if we don't have EMD non-refundable deposited by this day, or whatever, or if your buyer goes to walk it, because the buyer still had to walk it. He had three buyers going to walk it. It's not like he had one buyer who he knew. It was like three different buyers that had to walk it. And so they still had to do that. I'm like, bro, if any of them say that they can't do this price, because I'm not doing a price reduction. If any of them can't do this price, we're canceling it. Take your EMD back. Just get the fuck away. So I'm like putting the pressure on them. And anyways, long story short, the buyer deposited EMD and he closed fairly quick. And so it did end up all working out. But that one wholesaler, I'll never do a deal with him ever again. Come to find out, like the person that I knew him from, I asked him about him, right? Because I was like, "Do you know that? Is this your man's? Like, is this your dude? Is this your bro?" He was like, "I don't fuck with him like that. No, he a slime ball. He a snake." I'm like, "Bro, what? Why didn't you tell me that?" He's like, "Why is he your friend then?" I'm like, I just know him. Like, he's not like my friend. I don't do business with him. Like, I told him he's a bitch. I'm like, oh my gosh. But so just be careful who you do business with. And yeah, so it closed and funded July 29th on a Tuesday. $13,500 done. Do you have a question about that deal or like that little story? I really didn't even anticipate telling that story, but y'all good?
Yeah, hey, what's up, brother? Hey, what's up, brother? Quick question. Was it delivered vacant or with the tenant?
So it was delivered vacant at closing. That was one thing. Like we had to make sure that the tenants were out. The buyer did not want to buy it if it was tenant occupied. So we had to give them time to move out, get out. One of the tenants was kind of slow. She was a hoarder, but yeah, we got it vacant. Yes, sir. All right, deal number two. So this closed. So that one closed Tuesday. This one closed and funded Friday, 13,000. So this one was in Royce City, Texas. Same deal, Dallas, Fort Worth. It's just on the outskirts of Dallas, right? Like I said, that's where a lot of the money is going to be made is on the outskirts of the big cities, not in the big cities themselves, unless it's like a super really good neighborhood or something. Yep. So $13,000. That's straight to me. I did not split that with anybody. Nothing like that. This was, yep, straight to my bank account, as you can see in the picture. So the contract price, I originally had it at $147,000, and we ended up getting a price reduction to $137,000, and then we assigned it at $147,000. Lead source, this came in from the cold callers, same cold call. Actually, that is a lie. So it did not come in from the cold callers. This was from SMS text blasting. Um, yeah, I don't do SMS text blasting anymore. I did it a year ago. So this lead came in a year ago originally when I was doing SMS text blasting and just wasn't a deal at the time. I'll go into it on the timeline portion, but this was still code violation city list. Same list every time. It's usually the only list I pull. Sometimes I'll pull a list from a software like PropWire or Propelio or PropStream or something like that.
Got a question for you, Sil.
Hmm. What's up?
Have you ever closed a deal from from the city list?
What do you mean?
Have you ever closed on a deal? You see the list on what we requested from the city? Have you ever closed like a lead from that lead source? Like close a deal?
Yeah, that's what both of these deals were. Both of them were for the from the city list, code violation.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's
I
how.
still be pulling.
Yeah. Yeah, and you should pull those lists. I mean, those are the best lists that I've ever had. It's given my student success, it's given my mentors success, and it's given me success. So that's how I got both of these deals, code violation, city list. Um, and yeah, if you guys want to walk down a walkthrough on how I do that, a full breakdown, I have a few videos on my YouTube going over how to pull those lists exactly for any city in the United States. It's usually always the same. But yep. So the buyer, this was the same buyer as deal number one, except it wasn't a daisy chain. So I went straight to that wholesaler who worked for X company, and they just gave it to the same buyer. He bought this deal as well. So walkthroughs. I originally had one of my VIP buyers. I always send them the deal first. So I always send them the deal first. Um, so he went to go see it. He put a lockbox on it. And yeah, I had about maybe 10 walkthroughs in total. There's probably more. It's either 10 to 15 walkthroughs. So a bunch of walkthroughs. This one was vacant. So the walkthroughs were super simple, super easy. Anybody could go there anytime. Just, put the key back in the lockbox. All I had to do was give them the lockbox code, which was all zeros, by the way. Um, so walkthroughs were never an issue. So it could have been more. Um, I'm just not sure. So the condition of the property, this was a 3 bed, 1 bath. The garage was converted into like a living room area. The bathrooms were outdated. They had solar panels on them. Buyers don't like that. Nobody likes it because it's usually a fat ass lien on the house. They had $30,000 left on their solar panels. But the good thing is the sellers were going to pay it off at closing. So it's not like the buyer had to pay it or sub to it or anything like that. They were just going to be paid off in full at closing. Some foundation work had been done. The AC was 5 to 6 years old. That needed to be replaced. The kitchen needed to be updated. The roof was 6 years old. Not too bad. They had a brand new electric system, and some of the plumbing was still original. I don't remember what year it was built, but I think it was before or after 1960. But the house needed a lot of work. So the sellers were actually doing some renovations on the house and just never finished. So there's like no flooring. There was new flooring in the house though, but it was just like laid to the side, waiting to be, installed and everything. So it did need a good bit of work. So this is the timeline on the deal. The deal originally came into my CRM, right, from SMS. I didn't even have the CRM that I have now a year ago. I don't think so. June June 12th, 2024. I believe I had just moved to Dallas. January, February, March, April, May. Yeah. Yeah, no, I did have the same CRM. I had the same CRM. I was in Dallas at this time, and I probably had been in Dallas for like 2 months, January, February, March. I think I've been in Dallas since March of 2024, I believe. Yeah. So I'd been in Dallas for a little bit. I already paid Chandler Sane to be my mentor. He was teaching me about the new close system and everything. And yeah, it first came in June 12th, 2024, and we got it under contract June 20th, 2024. So that's what, 8 days later? 8 days later, calling him, went through the whole process, went through the whole spiel. And at this time, I had a lead manager who's now my acquisition manager, Ian. So at the time, he was just a lead manager. So he would sift through the text messages that got blasted out and he would look for the people who said, yes, I want to sell the house. He would just get on a like quick little 5 minute call or something, and then he would set up an appointment for me. I would take the appointment and I would close them. So that's the business model that we were doing, the process that we were running at the time. And so I got it under contract. I looked in the CRM. I had offered them 140 at first. Or I said, or we could do 200,000 as a novation. And so obviously they just went with a higher offer, 200,000. And so uh I listed it on the MLS um with my realtor. I remember a few people being interested. Just nobody bought it, not even a retail buyer. Nobody bought it. So I never found a buyer for it and I canceled the contract in October. So I had it locked up from June to October. June, July, August, September, October. That's 5 months, 4.5 to 5 months. I had it under contract. Nobody was buying it. So I canceled it and took it off the MLS. We contacted the seller again for the first time since then, July 4th, 2025. So literally a whole year later, like almost exactly a year later, June, July. Yep. Yeah. Or a little over a year later. Um, and I asked if they would still want to sell. And they said they responded June 7th, right? So they didn't even respond right away because it's the 4th of July. And, we sent multiple texts and then they ended up texting and said, yes, we are still looking to sell. And so we got them on the phone. My acquisition manager, Ian, he's now acquisition manager. He got them on the phone and got them under contract for 147 that same day that he called them. Right? They were originally asking 167. That's how much they told Ian that they wanted. And we're like, we could do 147. I was like, damn, you can't get them to come down anymore. He was like, bro, they're not budging. I was like, fuck it, lock it up. Same deal. If it's close enough to being a deal and you have rapport with the seller, lock it up. Lock it up, lock it up, lock it up. Because you could do exactly what I did with these two deals and just go for a price reduction. The biggest thing is just getting it under contract. So we started marketing it that same day and had one of our buyers meet the seller at the property July 9th to put a lockbox on it. Oh, I didn't finish this. Most of the offers we were getting were like at 140K to 150K. Um, so yeah, we had a lot of buyers walk it, and then we had a few wholesalers bring their buyers too. Some of them were coming in at like 110, 120. Obviously, that's not gonna work. Some of them were coming in at 150. Some were saying, some wholesalers had buyers coming in at, you know, 155. And so I was like, okay, we're close. Like we're close. But I don't want to make $3,000 or $5,000 on a wholesale deal. So we got to go for the price reduction. And we had such good rapport with the sellers. The sellers were cool. They knew us. They liked us. They wanted to do business with us. So uh, Ian went back and got a price reduction July 14th, 2025. Got it. We originally asked for a 15K price reduction. It's like, let's go for the 15. Because 9 times out of 10, right? They're going to negotiate with you. So really, we wanted a 10K price reduction. 15 would have been great. But we were aiming for a 10K price reduction. So I was like, start off with 15K and push for it. But if not, and they come down at 10K, lock it up. So we got that. So we asked for a 15K price reduction. We tried to really push for it, but then the seller was just like, look, the most I could do is this. And they got it locked up. So we got it locked up at 137. And then we contacted that same buyer from the first deal and we was like, what do you think you could sell it at? And they said 147. They was like, can you do that? I was like, uh, yeah, that'll work. Whoops. So actually, that's not right. 47. So it was 150. That's what I assigned it at. I signed it at 150, sorry. Um, yeah, and then so this closed and funded Friday. So that is July, let's see, July 29th. So it was August 1st. Got it sold and funded August 1st. Yep. That is a live deal breakdown of those two deals that I closed last week. Made $26,500 in total net, all to me. And so one of them was a new lead, one of them was an old lead, a follow-up. But, when when we contacted them again, it was pretty quick. So I think the moral of the story that any of y'all could get out of this, the biggest thing is follow up. You don't have to be a killer on the phone. You don't have to be a super savage on the phone, although that is a major valuable skill. But like you do not have to be a savage on the phone. What you do have to do is have vicious follow-up game. You need to follow up with these leads. Absolutely have to. Um, because if you don't, somebody's going to take your deal, right? Or you're going to get lost to someone else. So don't get caught up uh in the cycle of calling new leads every single day and then never following up with them. You're just making offers, making offers, making offers. Like that's how you get burnt out and that's how you just end up spinning your wheels. It's because you're never following up. And don't overcomplicate the follow-up. Just hit them up, say like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing? How's that going? How's this going? Are you still doing that? Are you still dealing with this? How's those other offers?" Ba 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 ba. Like like 95% of your day or 95% of your calls should be follow-up and like 5% are new acquisition calls, right? If it's especially if it's just you doing this by yourself, like 90 to 95% of all of your calls should be follow-up. And then 5 to 10% of your calls are new people that you never spoke to before. That's the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing. Because if you're just calling new people and that's all you're calling and you're just giving new offers every single day and you never follow up with one of those people, you're just looking for the quick, easy one call close, bro, you're never gonna make it. Like you have to follow up. So, does anybody have any questions on any of that?
Yeah, quick question. How do you usually word your contracts? Is it vacant all the time or case by case, depending on the situation?
How do I word the contract?
Yeah, like because I usually word my contracts vacant because I usually know like most of the buyers want properties vacant at closing. So I just wanted to like, do you do it the same way or it depends on the situation with the owner?
It always depends. I mean, in wholesale real estate, everything is a case by case basis except for general rules. Generally, yes, they want it vacant at closing. Sometimes there are exceptions to that. The buyer doesn't care, or the buyer is willing to evict them. But like 9 times out of 10 or 8.5 times out of 10, it has to be delivered vacant at closing. Um, you don't have to have that in your contract though. Uh, I mean, I would recommend it. How I word it in my contract is like this. Let's see. So it'll say possession of the property and occupancy with all keys and garage door openers will be delivered to the buyer at closing. Buildings on the property, including houses, must be empty of occupants 72 hours prior to closing, unless there is an agreement in writing otherwise as an addendum to this contract. And then it goes on to say sellers may not negotiate new leases or renew existing leases except on a month-to-month basis without buyer's written consent. The buyer expressly acknowledges that the property is sold in as is where it's condition. Yeah, so if you guys want this contract, I mean, I give it away for free. Um, this is the contract I use for all of my deals. Just go on my Instagram and then comment the word script or contract, and it'll send you this contract, and then it'll send you my Zillow script that I use. So I still use this script even for the cold callers, even for my cold call leads. Like this is a perfect script. It's literally a perfect script. I don't need to go anywhere to find out what to say. Like everything I will ever need to say is most likely going to be on this script. So the motivation questions, I mean, this is all from like Jeremy Miner, Alex Hermosi, Andy Elliott, Eric Klein. Like these motivation questions are the best. And then the way I uh, organized everything or like set everything in the order, like instead of asking why do you want to sell, it's like I'm gonna be honest, this looks like a great house. Has this ever been a rental property for you or a primary residence? That's uh that's how you ask people why are they selling without saying why are you selling. So yeah, if you guys want this contract and my script, this script and my contract, just go on my Instagram and comment the word script or contract and you'll get both of them for free. They'll send it to you in the DMs. Y'all have any other questions about the deal breakdown, the contract, the script, or any deals that y'all have under contract right now? I'll look at any deals that you guys have. Nothing?
I got a question.
Okay.
What was the process of you renegotiating the price with the seller?
Um, so for the price reduction for the first one, I got the price reduction myself, and then for the second one, Ian went and got the price reduction. So for this one, the price reduction, I basically went in and I said, "Hey, Mrs. Seller, how you doing? How's this? How's that? Awesome. Okay. Well, I got some news. I got some good news. And then I have some other news. It's not bad, but I'm just gonna need you to work with me a little bit. So I sent my lenders in there, sent my contractor in there, and yeah, it does need a bit more work than we anticipated and we thought. Um, and so we ran the numbers again. We did it 2, 3 times. We ran the numbers, made sure everything, and I mean, basically, uh, we're just we overestimated. We figured that it takes we're about $15,000 over our budget for what it would cost us to fix the house up and resell it on the market. So yeah, if we could, if you're willing to work with us on that 15,000, it'll just be taken out of the purchase price. At closing, everything stays the same, all the terms stay the same. And the good news is, obviously we're still interested and we could close actually faster than we thought. So we could actually end up closing on this next week. So I'll just say that. I'd shut up and I'd let them say something. And then they were like, ba 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 ba. So I remember for this one, she was like, well, I don't know, da da da, and because I still need to pay this and that. And she was like, I don't know. I'll do 10, but I won't do 15. I was like, all right, well, um, we kind of prepared for that. But let me just go back and talk with my team, talk with my contractor again and look at the numbers and see if, everybody's on board with, 10 and just see if that's something that we could do. Is that cool? Is it cool if I give you a call back? Well, are you going to be by your phone? I'll call you back in, a few minutes, 30 minutes maybe. She's like, all right, yeah, call me back. So, got off the phone, waited 30 minutes or something, called back. They said, look, could you do uh 13? Wait, 12. It was like 12. I got a price reduction for 12. These numbers accurate? 148. Yeah, because I had it at 160. And yeah. So I was like, look, Couldn't do 10. They wanted me to ask you, can you do 12? She was like, fine, we'll do it. I was like, all right, cool. And then I got her to sign that thing right then and there. I'm not getting her off the phone, sending her the agreement and waiting for her to sign. I was like, all right, cool. We'll sign it right now. Just give me a second. I'll put you on a brief hold, okay? Bear with me. And then I got her to sign that right then and there on that phone call. Didn't let her go. Obviously we touched on a few other things, building rapport and everything, but in a nutshell, that's how it went. I said, hey, send my contractors over there. We ran our numbers 3, 4 times, and it looks like we're about $15,000 over our budget, is what it looked like. The good news is, though, we could close sooner than we originally agreed on, and we still want to buy the property. We just need, $15,000 taken off of the front end. So,
Nice.
Capo, did you have a question? Or did anybody have a question or wanted me to go over any deals that you had?
Nah, I don't have no questions. I just trying to see how you was gonna break it all down. But it's all pretty clear to me on how you did it.
Hmm. Yep, pretty simple. Code violation list, city code violation list. I teach you guys how to pull those lists. And then the cold callers that I have, same cold callers. I mean, I could hook you guys up with those cold callers, same company and everything. And yeah, one was a new lead that came in. And then the other one was from a year ago. It's been in my system for a year, and then I followed up with them a year later, and they were just ready to go. And so in both cases is a big example of how important follow-up is. What if I never did any follow-up calls? I'd be fucked. I wouldn't have these deals. Like, what if I just gave this lead the offer and I just said, all right, well, she didn't accept it, move on. Like, no. You like, yes, move on, do other tasks, but like set a task to call them back and like whenever you think you should, whether it's a day, an hour, whatever. And then this one, it's like it was a canceled contract. I had it under contract 1 year ago, tried to sell it, it didn't work. And then I contacted them a year later, and because of the follow-up, I was able to get it under contract again and sell it this time. So just never ever neglect follow-up. This is all about relationships.
What CRM do you use?
So I use Close CRM right now, Close. Um, it's as cheap as 39 bucks a month. It's as expensive as $100 a month to I think the highest plan is like $140 a month. So yeah, Close CRM. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to mute yourself, bro, because I can hear the car, like the wind. Yeah, Close CRM. Does anybody have a question about text blasting, cold callers, or you have something to one?
Okay, so so the deal where you did the 15 walkthroughs, like how were you explaining to the seller, like like how were you reassuring her that you were actually gonna buy it? Like if you were the actual buyer, like
Yeah, so for that one, the seller who had the tenant in there and she was getting skeptical and stuff, I just kept saying like this is my partners, and then this is my contractor, and then that's my lender, and then my lender wants to go again, and then my contractor wants to go
mhm,
again, you know? And then at one point in it, it was like one day I just sent everybody. I said, fuck that. I ain't gonna I was like, can I do one walkthrough this day? She's like, yeah, sure. Go at this time. And I sent like 10 people there. Like I didn't bother to call her. I was just like, I'm just sending everybody. Like, fuck it, everybody go.
mhm,
Because I'm not gonna just like make the seller more whatever by like keep calling and calling and calling. It's like just everybody go at this time. Get it over with. Everybody, you want to go? Go, 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 go. You got people you want to go? Go. Everybody go at this time. Just go. Just wasn't even worried about it. And if the seller called me, then I would have answered it and I'd be like, oh, really? That's really? They sent who? No, it should have only been that person. I mean, they probably brought They probably brought their partner or something, but no, I don't know. I would have just acted like I don't fucking know. Uh, but yeah, so I just kept saying like, well, my lender wants to see it again. You know, my lender is the one who gives me the funds. Like, you know, okay, I got to send my contractor. Like my contractor, I said, okay, well, my contractor had to send this type of specialty, a specialist at roofs. So it was the roof person, or it was the specialty in drywall or whatever, foundation. Like they had to send that person out. And so it's just a different person or the same person with a new perspective. So it was like I was either saying it was my partner, my lenders, or my contractor, or an inspector. You could say an inspector too. So four different people that you could probably use, you know, two to three to four different times. Yeah. Do you think that's a issue that you come across a lot? Like, or
No, I was just asking, like, just in case I do experience that, because I don't even know if I would even be, I don't know if I would know how to explain that. But
just say it's my contractor. I would
yeah,
take notes at some of this, but contractor, lender, partner, inspector. Those are four different walkthroughs you could get. You could get four different walkthroughs just by saying this is my contractor, this is my partner, this is my lender, this is my inspector. And then you could use each of them, you know, two times. So that's eight walkthroughs that you could get just by saying that. There's no specialty way to word it. It's just contractor, lender, partner, inspector.
Right.
What are you gonna say, Tuan?
I was gonna say, so like when you following up on these deals, how do you space apart the follow-ups? Do you follow up every 2 days, every other month? 'Cause sometimes people tell me like you got to follow up every month, but you followed up like each day.
So it just depends. It literally just depends. I'm following up every day if like so for this one, right? I gave him an offer. She was like, "Okay, well, I got two other offers that I'm gonna go look at, so I'll let you know." So I followed up with her like every other day, then like every 3 days, depending on how the follow-up went. Like if I got her on the phone and we talked and I knew what she was planning to do and when she would do what, I'd be like, okay, well then I gotta call her in 3 days. I'm not gonna call her tomorrow because tomorrow she said she's gonna be out in the Bahamas with her family and with her grandkids. But so I'm not gonna call her tomorrow. I'm gonna call her when she gets back from the Bahamas. I'm gonna be the first person she talks to. I'm gonna be the first person on her mind when she gets back from the Bahamas. Or um, you know, if she said like it's her birthday weekend, that was one of the things. I'm not gonna call her talking about the house on her birthday weekend when she's out partying with her sister. I'm gonna send her a text and be like, "Hey, Mrs. Seller, happy birthday. Hope you're enjoying it. Have fun with your sister. Have a great time for me." That's it. And so, you know, you got to be vicious with it, but you got to know when you're like when to harass somebody and when to just like genuinely follow up. The only time I harass somebody is if they're ghosting me. If they're ghosting me or they're not answering the phone or something, I'm harassing them. I'm calling them three times every hour. I'm triple dialing them every hour of every day, you know, for like 7 days. And I'm using different phone numbers too. Uh, but in this case, like she's in contact with me. I know she's not ghosting me. I know she has other things going on, and I know she plans to do X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna, you know, follow up accordingly. But if it's like not a good lead, if it's like, they're asking too high on the price and it's in a middle of nowhere town and they don't seem that motivated, okay, well then follow up in 3 months. 3 months. If they're motivated, they're in a bad situation, but their price is just way too high and it sounds like they're not going to budge and they're just, stuck with their pride. Like, no, I know I could get this much. I'm a da 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 da. I'm a boo 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 boo. Okay, follow up with them in like 30 days because you know that nobody's going to pay that stupid ass price that they're asking, and you know that they're in a painful situation, right? Especially if it's in a good location. So I'm not going to follow up with them in 3 months. I'm going to follow up with them in like 30 days or 2 weeks, right? How I based how a lead is hot or cold is off of price, location, and motivation. Price, location, and motivation. Like so if it's a decent price and one of the hottest neighborhoods and they're in a lot of pain motivation wise, I'm following up with them every day. That's a hot lead. But if it's a good price in a really bad rural location and they're not really desperate to sell, let's say it's still a really, really good price, but it's in a iffy location and they're not motivated to sell. So it's like they're not really, I don't know, I need to think about it. I don't know, it's not really a priority. Well, then that's like, you know, not a hot lead. Like maybe in between cold and warm, not in between warm and hot, like in between cold and warm. And so I would follow up with them like maybe it depends. If it's a good price, I'd probably follow up with them like every week, you know, every other week, something like that. So it really just depends. It literally is a case by case basis. You just have to know what your procedure is when when you get whatever type of lead you get, cold, warm, or hot, right? Like if you know they're ghosting you, blow their phone up, harass them. If you know that they're not ghosting you, they just have a lot of stuff going on and they're doing other things, okay, don't harass them because then you'll get blocked. So I would say follow up with them. It just depends, like every 3 days. So it's every one day, every other day, every 3 days, every week, every 2 weeks, every 30 days. And then yes, there's also those leads that I don't follow up with for 6 months because they're not motivated, it's not a good area, and it's not a good price. But they want to sell. So it's still a lead, but I'm gonna follow up with them in like 3 to 6 months. Any other questions? I'm about to what's up? You got a question, George?
Yeah, yeah. On the buyers, is there any way you can get more contact with buyers? Find a way to get more buyers to build your buyers list. I know I did the Facebook a post looking for. I post like the property and then I'll post like inside looking for more buyers in this area. Is there any other way that you do it to like experience doing it to get more buyers in your CRM?
So the best way to find real buyers is to just get more deals under contract. It's like, guys, if you guys are out here trying to find buyers without a deal, you're just wasting your time at that point. Like literally. Um, yeah, if you guys are out here trying to build a buyers list and you guys don't even have anything under contract, you are 100% wasting your time. So the best way to build your buyers list is to go find them some deals. And once you get those deals, if any of them are good, you're going to post them on Facebook and the buyers will come to you. And when you get that buyer, when you get the buyer on the phone, for one, always ask for their number, get their contact information, get their email, whatever the case is. And when you get them on the phone, that is your time to vet them out and see how serious of a buyer they are. And should you add them to your buyers list? Um, yeah, you find the best buyers by having deals and marketing out deals, and then the real buyers will come to you. That is the best way to find the best buyers. Because if you're just contacting people, getting them on the phone, and you don't have anything to offer them or give them, they're going to look at it as you're wasting their time. Not only are you wasting your time because you don't have a deal, you don't have a way to make money yet, but also they're going to feel like you're wasting their time. Some of them might be nice, but even the nice ones, like maybe they might be scared to tell you like, "Hey, don't call me. Like, what are you doing? Like, do you have anything to offer me? Do you have a deal?" Okay, then what are we talking about? You don't want to call buyers and say, "Is this a deal? Is this a deal?" You can only do that so many times before they just get tired of it and they end up like not answering your phone call. Just come to them with the deals. But yeah, that's the best way to find buyers is find the deal first, and the buyers will come to you. And then when they call you, get their contact information, add them to the buyers list.
This past weekend, I cold called on Deal Machine and found 10 buyers for a Georgia deal.
There you
Had
go.
like two walkthroughs.
There you go. Yeah, so also I do have investor base too. Like so uh I'll have a buyer's list that is pulled either from investor base or whatever. And so I'll cold call buyers, but I'm only doing that after I have it, like once I have a deal. Because if I'm just cold calling buyers, just saying, hey, do you buy in this area? Yeah, why? I might have a deal in the future, maybe. What are you looking for? It's like, what? They're gonna block you. Um, so yeah, you can cold call buyers. So Facebook is good for them to come to you. You could pull a list from Deal Machine. I know Deal Machine's very effective. You could buy Investor Base, right? InvestorBase.com, InvestorBase.com. It's super, super one of the best softwares I've ever used in my entire life when it comes to finding cash buyers. Um, or you could contact realtors, whatever the case is. I mean, but if you don't have any money, Facebook is the number one way to go. It's how I've found almost all of my buyers. And but you got to have a deal first. All right. Any last questions before I go? Any questions about anything at all?
Nope.
All right. Good deal. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all for showing up. If you guys want to DM me here, you could DM me on Discord. Send me a friend request, DM me. Any questions that you have, I'll answer them. Or if you guys have a deal that you want me to analyze for you or sell for you, just send it to me in the DMs. I'll be here. I'm gonna upload this video to YouTube right now, and so y'all be able to see it in like an hour or so. All right, YouTube.
All right, cool.
Peace.